Hi, this is Tom Sedlak, General Manager at 33rd Company Property Management. Thanks so much for watching our video blog. Today's topic is how to set a fair market rent in the Kansas City metro area. You know, setting rent is sometimes an art and sometimes a science, and most of the times it's a little mix of each. There are a lot of metrics that can get involved when you're setting market rent, and it's important to be sensitive to the marketplace and the factors that tenants are looking for. The real bottom line, and what makes most home investors successful, is by renting homes, buying and renting homes as investment properties that they would live in themselves. And the reason is because it has the layout, it has the amenities, the school districts, it has all of those reasons that you bought the home in the first place to live in, just like you bought your primary residence, and yet that's exactly what a tenant is looking for when they're trying to rent a home, is they want the same thing. The number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, how many square feet, does it have a garage, is it attached or not, is there a yard with a fence? All of those things are very important when you're looking at factors and trying to buy a home. And in fact, the price you pay for an investment property is not cleanly tied to your bottom line return on investment, your ROI, because you have to add those extra factors in. And many times investors find that by having a home that has all those attractive features to it, even if they pay $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 more than another home down the street that doesn't have those features, their cash flow long term is going to be much better because they're going to have a much less problem with vacancies, extended vacancies, with tenant turnover, where tenants only stay for a year and then the home isn't really well suited for them and then they leave, and then there's another period of vacancy and turnover, and all of those things that detract from your overall cash flow. So you want to make sure that you're buying a home that really does fit the market and the marketplace, and that's the very important thing that you need to do when you pick up investment properties. When you're setting that fair market rent, of course, comps can go a long way. You can look down the street, you can look in the neighborhood, you can look in the city and find similar homes and determine what their rents are and use that as a comparable. But again, every home is unique. Every home is in its own unique area and has its own unique attributes. And so you have to be very careful not to over compensate by using comps and rely too heavily on those comparatives and make sure that you are pricing the home for the exact features that it has. You know, there are some websites that can offer sort of mechanical market-driven comps. One of them is Zillow, and you can go on there and get a rent zestimate is what they call it, and it's a very interesting concept that they have, and it's fairly close. I will admit that it's within several $100s, but it's not completely accurate. And the reason it's not accurate is, number one, is that Zillow doesn't really know what the actual rents are. They use the advertised rents that they find and pull off on Craigslist and whatnot, and those are the asking rents. Those aren't the actual rents. So right off the bat, their data coming in is a little bit flawed. And not only that, but they're not really comparing the actual attributes that a home has. They don't know if it has granite countertops. They don't know if, for instance, the school district is rated higher than the school district that's in the next county. And they also don't track metrics. They don't track the actual demand from consumers when you do post a property that determines, hey, is this home adequately priced or not? A good management company will actually obtain click data, all the impressions, clicks, click-throughs, page views, brochure openings, how many emails they're getting, how many offers of lease that they're getting, and how quickly a home will rent at a certain asking rent. And so a nimble management company will know very much more accurately than Zillow, for instance, what a potential home will actually rent for. And that's another good reason to use a management company to help you set the rents, because it can make a huge difference for you, not just in what your monthly cash flow is going to be when the home is rented, but also how long that vacancy period is going to be, and how long the home is going to sit vacant, because quite frankly, 1 month of vacancy is probably one of your biggest expenses. If you have a $1,200 per month home and it goes 1 month vacant, that's $100 per month in equivalent rent that you've just lost for that entire first year of the lease. And not only that, but if you overprice a home and you do happen to luck out and find someone that needed the home and it was a relatively good fit for them, chances are are, they're going to recognize as they move into the neighborhood that they're overpaying, and they'll probably move somewhere else at the end of a year anyway. And so by overpricing a home, you're not doing yourself any favors long term. You're only eliminating your pain in the short term, and even then it might take you longer to rent a home at a higher price than if you had it adequately priced based on market rent. So getting a good management company that has a broad portfolio of homes and does in fact use metrics from their own operations as well as operations in other states, that's generally your best source for getting fair market rent, getting an accurate fair market rent to use in pricing your property. Of course, there are a lot of other factors. I mentioned a few of them, but what city you're in, what county you're in makes a big difference. There are seasonal fluctuations in rent. Typically, renting something in June, you're going to get a lot more demand, a lot more people moving in June and willing to pay higher rents than you are in December when there's very little demand for rentals, and you may have to price the property down in order to get the vacancy filled. It's still worth doing, but you just have to be sensitive to the fact that you're probably not going to get the same rents in December as you are in June, and you just have to fill the vacancy nonetheless. Whether there's a good school district or not is an important attribute. Whether there's a yard, like I said, with a fence in the back. That's why people rent single-family homes, is because they can't take pets into the apartment complexes. So you just have to understand, I have to open the door to pets in many cases with single-family homes, and that's the segment that you're appealing to. Whether there's local businesses, parks, trails, etc., all important factors, again, all unique to the properties that you have to take into consideration when you're pricing a home. The bottom line is that rent is an estimate, and generally you're not going to be able to say, hey, it's going to rent for $1,347. You're never going to be able to have that sharp of a knife to accurately predict what the rent is going to be. So typically start yourself out with a rent range. Start at the higher end of your rent range so that you can sleep at night knowing that at least you tried. But then the best thing to do after that is to follow the metrics, follow the number of leads, inquiries, create your own marketing funnel, or have your property management company make sure that they do that for you, create a marketing funnel, and give you a summary every week of what your rental stats are. And then you can determine very quickly, within a week or two, whether your home is priced too high or not. And it's important to bring that price down very quickly when you recognize that it is overpriced. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting on an extended vacancy. So anyway, that's what a good manager is going to do for you. That's what 33rd Company, of course, would do. We've got over 20 years in the business. We'll be happy to give you a hand if you're looking for residential property management services. Thanks so much for listening to the blog. Hope you have a great day. Thanks.